come into the live stream, so we will be patient as we begin. I'm super excited about this conversation. And as we get started, I want to say welcome to Dr. Boyce TV, the home for intelligent Black people. So if you're not Black or intelligent, then this may not be the place for you. So, and I've got one of the most intelligent Black people that I've ever known, somebody that I just respect so much that I'm honored that she took the time to come and hang out with us today, Dr. Julianne Malveaux. How you doing, Dr. J?
I'm great. You boys, you doing good?
Oh, I'm doing extremely well. Very well. Very well. I'm excited that you're here because I mentioned you a lot, you know, in the conversations we have, because and I've even told you that story where I literally remember the moment when somebody said, do you know who Dr. Julianne Malveaux is? It's about 1996. And you were the first public scholar I'd ever seen. I didn't know that you could have a PhD and engage the world in that way. I thought you had to go, you know, sit in some academic office and write papers for these dusty journals and nobody reads.
Nobody would read, yeah.
Right. So I saw you, and then I think a couple of years later, I saw Michael Eric Dyson. A year after that, I saw Cornel West, and that was literally my progression, you know, as a scholar. So, so I think it's always important to just cite the people that made you into who you are. I really think if I had not seen the three of you, there's no way I'd be doing what I'm doing right now. So much respect to you.
Well, and much mad respect to you. I'm really proud of you for creating this platform of your own. I mean, basically you own it, you control it, you know what's on it. Whereas when we're going through mainstream media, even in the op-ed space, if people don't like it, they don't want to publish it. They don't want to have you on. If they think you're, quote, difficult, if you make white people uncomfortable, and the whole notion of making white people uncomfortable, don't get me started. But I mean, but, you know, only because at the moment, you know, I'm reading this book by Walter White. He was a secretary of the NAACP, executive director, really. But he wrote this book called Rope and Faggot, and it's about lynching. And he talks about many lynchings. He wrote it it was published in 1929. Don't ask me why I'm on lynching these days, but, you know, reading and writing about Black money and thinking about that which has been taken from us and how, and the whole issue of intimidation. Well, you know, there was a Black woman who actually was lynched because white people did not like, they said they didn't like her words nor her attitude. Her name was Mary Turner. Her husband was lynched. It's a story. I'm gonna take a minute if you don't mind, because it's a compelling story. White man owned a plantation. Nobody wanted to work for him because he was so brutal. So the way that he got workers is he went and bailed Black men out of prison. Many of them who had been incarcerated for stupid stuff like rolling dice. Bailed Black men out of prison, and then they had to work off their bail with him. But there were always disputes about what was owed. You know, how long you had to work, what was owed. And a brother named Sidney Johnson, the man beat him like 3 times. And the 3rd time, Sidney said enough, and he shot the dude. Killed him, actually, and also shot his wife, didn't kill her, winged her. Well, the white people in Valdosta, Georgia decided they just go kill everybody who knew Sidney Johnson. 13 Black men were lynched in a 2-week period, like a lynching a day. And then Mary Turner, her husband, was one of the people who was lynched. She went down to the courthouse and said someone was going to be held responsible for lynching her husband. So they lynched her. They said they did not like her tone nor her attitude. She was 19 years old. She was 8 months pregnant. They tied her by her ankles and hung her up from a tree upside down. Then they lit her clothing on fire. They threw kerosene on her clothing and lit it on fire. Then they, after she burned to death, they actually slit her belly open, and the fetus, 8 months old, almost grown, almost, you know, fully formed, came out, and they stomped that child's head. That was a lynching of Mary Turner. I was writing about it in the context of mouthy Black women, because, you know, all too often Black women are made to feel like we can't speak up. And this is why the Orange Orangutan has gone after Ilhan Omar and Ayanna Pressley and the others, because these women have had the right to their voices. But anyway, the Walter White book, Boyce, I would highly recommend it to you. I know you have a full shelf, but you ought to check it out. You can download it on Kindle. And it's deep, because it really talks about why lynching is so important in the oppression of Black people. It was really about elevating white people. They didn't have anything else. At the end of Reconstruction, we were actually doing okay. Not great, but okay. Many of us were becoming enriched. Many of us were playing the capitalist game. We were building things and making things. I mean, you go fast forward to Tulsa, Oklahoma, 1921, we built libraries and hospitals and churches because we paid taxes and they wouldn't build those for us. But this was so threatening to white people that they just had to lynch. So women and men, but more than 70 women were lynched. Most lynchings were men, most lynchings were Black, but there was some white people and Jewish people who were lynched also. But most of the Black people were lynched for like nothing, for having a wrong attitude, for not walking off the sidewalk, for wearing their uniform. I mean, so the Red Summer of 1919 is an extraordinarily pivotal time. More than 35 racial incidents where white people just went butt wild and started killing Black people. Why? Because they could, and because the law would never protect them. And so Walter White just goes into this whole psychology of how people were able to do that. He talks about lynchings more likely happening in smaller towns. In large metropolitan areas, you didn't see a lot of that. Talked about the church and the holy rolling Baptists and Methodists who accommodated lynching. Whereas, as an example, there was only one lynching in New Orleans. Well, what was happening in New Orleans? Catholic people. So I get wound up about it. But anyway, this book is something I highly recommend to you and to your viewers. It's something, it's a brilliant piece. It's not perfect. There's lots of little, he makes some conclusions that we probably wouldn't jump to today. But the fact that his ability to talk about the psychology of white supremacy. This is psychology. This is the seed that was planted. And it's like brainwashing. So even though the Red Summer happened 100 years ago, the fact is that you still have brainwashed white people, like the white man who basically killed a young brother because he was playing rap music. So he just decided, well, I'll just go kill you because I feel threatened. So white people feeling threatened is elevated so much higher than Black people feeling threatened. Because frankly, I feel threatened. I sometimes feel threatened in I don't get in an elevator with 3 white men. I just don't do it. Now I'm old, I ain't that cute no more, but I'm still not gonna get an elevator with 3 white men. That's all right, I'll wait for the next one.